Hello and welcome to the Economic Times Consumer Freedom Series, brought to you by the Times Group, the largest media conglomerate in the country. I am Rini Simon Khanna, and I'm happy to speak with thought leaders from across the globe about the many issues relating to consumer freedom and their choices. In our discussion today, we will dig deep into the importance of consumer freedom with context to businesses and policymaking, and look at what we can do to ensure their freedom of choice. In the next few minutes, we will talk about prohibitions, regulations about the ban of products and services, public policies to ensure consumer freedom, and the socio-economic impact of all of that. We will explore what regulators beyond boundaries are doing to protect the freedom of their consumers as well. To dive deeper into the subject, we have with us Professor Bijon Mishra, international consumer policy expert and honorary professor at the National Law University in Odisha. He is also the founder of the Consumer Online Foundation and has more than 35 years of experience in consumer education and advocacy. He's often consulted to develop strategies and capacity building programs on consumer protection policies for several UN bodies and international agencies. Thank you, Professor Mishra, for joining us and agreeing to talk to us. Let me begin by asking you, in the current times, the assertion consumer is king is rather provocative and almost aspirational rather than real. After all of us humans exist as communities rather than as individuals, and personal liberties, end where the other person's nose begins, as they say. In a country like ours, we often find a strange adherence and affection for the prohibition of many products, even though such products are allowed to be manufactured and traded legally worldwide. What are your thoughts on bans, and are bans good public policy in India?
So I'll come to the ban. Just at the beginning, let me tell you, like you gave an introduction, I would like to say we have traveled a lot. And when you say that consumer is the king, it is important to understand that if the consumer was not there, the economy cannot move. Because the consumer is there, everything is moving. And that is why they're defined as a king. So irrespective of which country you are, consumer is always the king, because that's the final decision. So having said that, you see, we are aiming at a 5 trillion economy. And if you have to bring India to a 5 trillion economy, you will have to ensure that all the policies revolve around the rights of the consumers. And one of the most important right of the consumer is safety, of course, you see, and quality. But the most important thing is the right to choose. You have to be given the freedom to choose based on credible information, but leave it to the consumer to decide what to take and what not to take. You see, the point which I'm driving at is that we have to understand you can't do irrational bans. You have to bring in bans to protect the consumer's health and safety. It's mandatory. You can't compromise. The Constitution of India says that. But it does not say that you deny a good grown-up consumer not to consume something which he or she knows in what manner they should consume and how it should be consumed. So you can't make a blanket ban. Like in India, for example, there are states where you can't access alcohol. And you go to those states, Rini, you will agree with me, you can get alcohol in whatever form, size you want.
Correct.
So what is the use of that ban? You're losing revenue. You are taking the plea that I'm going to save lives of people, keep them healthy, and that is why I can compromise on my taxes and I can implement a ban. But supposing you are not able to do that effectively and efficiently, then why are you denying your exchequer of that revenue which you could have earned, and the consumer could have got a freedom to access that product legally in a calibrated manner, which is missing. So the bans have to be very rational and has to be made in a manner that you are giving me the freedom to choose, which is my right as not only in the Constitution of India, but as per the rights of the consumers under the Consumer Protection Act 2019, which has come in a new manifestation, which this government has brought. So when you have brought that law, please implement it in letter and spirit.
Fair enough. Professor, while you also mentioned this, that bans are the worst form of regulation, as it were, there is significant misinformation around consumer freedom and the right to choose across sectors, be it cryptocurrencies, demonetization, Chinese apps, THR, and the like. Do you think alternatives backed by science and innovation are better than bans? And what is your take on this?
No, my take is very simple. Any law must have a robust oversight in terms of regulatory mechanism. There has to be a very, very good, efficient and effective regulator. So the regulator's responsibility is to encourage growth in the industry and at the same time look into the interest of the consumer. So my contention is that every product which is available around the world, and people are able to access it because scientifically it has been proved that it gives certain solutions to the consumers. Then why are you denying the consumers that choice or that solution? Just because somebody within the policy making body feels personally that no, it should not be allowed, it cannot be put across everybody in the country. Like, I'll give you a small example. For example, there are medicines which are allowed all over the world now, scientifically proved that they're healthy. But if the same medicine is being brought into India, it will not be allowed. It will take years to be, getting that approval. Now,
Yes.
Why are we doing that? Why am I denying a consumer who has the money to access that medicine for his near and dear ones? And you are not allowing that person to access that medicine, and you're taking years together to give the approval.
And sometimes that could be a medicine that is the only solution available for the consumer.
Absolutely. Like for rare disease, for example, rare disease patient is a small, minuscule number in the country. But even that minuscule number is very important for us to save their lives. Yes. And give them the solution. Their near and dear ones wants to give the best, and you are denying them to get that medicine for them. And you are not allowing people to innovate and be creative to do these discoveries also for our country based on already discovered in other parts of the world. So you allow consumers to, you don't allow consumers to access those products which has been discovered, and then you try to reinvent the wheel, make it more expensive, and then it doesn't become affordable.
So just elaborate a bit more on the socio-economic impact of such bans. You mentioned medicines, life-saving medicines sometimes, which are not accessible to consumers or not available. What about how does this work? Because this is like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you've got bans that are thought out and in place for whatever reason they may be. They may be unrealistic, policies that a lot of us will contest, but they nevertheless be there in place. How does one circumvent this, or how does one even have alternatives for them?
No, because you see, the alternatives is very simple. You look around the world, and when we find, supposing certain gadgets, certain devices have got manufactured, which reduces certain harms to the end users, then why are we denying that choice to that consumer? And just because you have made up your mind that I will not allow such and such device to be imported into the country, fine. You're not allowing it to be imported, that's fine. But the point is, at a certain point of time, you will have to agree, and that has to be done quickly, that we have to stop the smuggling which is going on in terms of cross-border smuggling, because it is denying me that revenue which I could have earned for the health of the consumers, to uplift their health, to earn the tax to give them a better quality of life. We have denied them that. So my contention is very simple, that if supposing something is allowed around the world, look at the science behind it. Look at the evidences behind it. And then you should also be party to it, because all over the world, including India, we are trying to harmonize one standard around the world. You know why? Because we don't want cross-border smuggling. We don't want consumers to get products out of illegal markets, out of a process which denies the country the credit of that growth.
And also may not be creditable, and it might be spurious.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you have no quality control.
Absolutely, because when you access any product in an illegal manner, then you can never be sure about the quality, safety, and other health issues of that product which is being smuggled in. So it is always good to regularize it, give it a proper shape, give it a proper process, let there be choice which should prevail. And I'm never of the view is that you compromise on the health and safety of the consumer. Because you see, you can't say that, that, oh, the other country may not feel so and I feel that. No, come on. Every human being is same. So everyone is looking at each other in the same kind of a platform, equal level. So there's no discrimination. And consumers, I always believe that you cannot discriminate a consumer.
Yes.
Because of his economic profile.
Yes.
Consumer is same, rich or poor. He pays taxes and accesses the product.
Correct.
He wants to pay that tax. Why are you denying him that access?
Correct. Fair enough, Professor Mishra. Finally, I think the question that I'd like to ask you, relates to what a behavioral scientist, Professor Stephen Riker, has said. And he says, and I'd like to quote, "The public isn't a problem that needs to be managed or controlled. Rather, the public constitutes the best resource available in a crisis. How can we, Professor Bijon Mishra, better sensitize both our lawmakers, policymakers, and the lay public on bans, its effects, and the importance of consumer choices and freedoms?"
Really, just on 21st of this month, I submitted a memorandum to the Honorable Finance Minister for the upcoming budget. And I told the Parliament, the parliamentarians, to look at this very seriously, that our biggest asset or resource is our 1.4 billion citizens.
Correct.
We are the second largest in the world. And we have the privilege of having the youngest population. And we're going to have it for 5 decades.
Correct.
So you can imagine the enormous resource which we have got, which we are not tapping, which means we have to develop better skills. We have to ensure that they understand responsibly in terms of how to take the economy to the next level. So as consumers, the biggest asset is that you get freedom to choose in terms of using your money more effectively and efficiently for your own purpose. And this, the first time I saw this, that focus was in Singapore when I visited for the first time. And what did I find? I found the trade union leaders in Singapore engaged in consumer protection. And I asked them, that, well, how come you came into the consumer protection domain? And they said, instead of bargaining for higher salaries, let me teach him how to use his money more effectively, so that he can use his money more efficiently and he's going to get more value out of it. So value for money should be the focus. And being in Quality Council of India, actively engaged with the government on various policies, my focus is give value for money. Even if somebody is buying 5 rupees worth of a product, give that person that 5 rupees worth. Don't deny that value for money. And that is very important. And that is what is going to be the future of India. And I am convinced, Rini, this is going to be a great country to live. Very soon, you will see. Because consumer is the king.
Yes, and like you said, it's not just important to provide them the choices, but also to educate them on picking the right choice and making that, freedom valued and something that they will cherish and probably also promote.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Mishra, for helping
So it was
us.
very nice
better
that you
understand.
invited me, and it was very nice to have this conversation.
Thank you very much for helping us better understand consumer freedoms and rights. And thank you again for joining us today and sharing useful insights with us. To all our viewers, thank you for watching, and do join us again as we keep bringing to you interesting conversations on consumer freedom.